Tomas Tatar is on the move. Take a look at this. The Seattle Kraken have acquired Tatar in exchange for a 2024 fifth-round pick. It is a Kraken and Avalanche swap. Not really the biggest deal in the world. Like, obviously, one player for a fifth isn't really that magnificent, but this is a very intriguing player heading over to the Seattle Kraken, and one that has a lot more to gain from this move than not. Take a look at the numbers right here. Tomas Tatar has had a very intriguing career up to this point because he was a very good Detroit Red Wings forward. 40-point guy, 50-point guy, consistent 20-goal guy, and then he went to the Montreal Canadiens where he was a point-per-game player. 61 points, 68 games played. He went to the finals. We all know what happened there. Eventually, he found himself onto the New Jersey Devils roster, had 48 points in 82 games played last year, and then he went to free agency. There was an entire idea floating around saying that Tatar wanted a multi-year deal, but the Devils were not able to give that to him. He rejected their offer of a one-year contract. But by the time Tatar came around, he realized that he wasn't going to get that multi-year extension in the free agent market. By that time, the Devils had already acquired Tyler Toffoli via a trade, so there was no choice for him but to sign somewhere else. He went to Colorado, one-year deal, $1.5 million AAV deal, and this season he had 9 points in 27 games played. He's got about a point every 3 games-ish. Not really the best number, especially for a guy who was at roughly half a point a game last season with the Devils. But with this Colorado Avalanche team, it really comes with the context when you acknowledge why they're trading him away and why he's going to Seattle. Firstly, there have been some rumors going around saying that the Kraken are brewing stuff up, and we could go out there and read some of the memes about that later on. But for Tomas Tatar going over to Seattle, this is a bigger and better opportunity for him. Let's just go over onto the subreddit and read why exactly this is going on from the perspective of Avalanche fans. This is the Our Hockey thread. Tatar traded to Seattle, getting a 5th-round pick back. Are the Avs flipping this pick for something else? I know Tatar wasn't exactly performing, but don't they lack depth? Dunk Daily replies that Tatar had no place in the Colorado Avalanche lineup, especially when Artturi Lehkonen comes back. So why'd you guys sign him then? Or did someone else come up and take his spot? He just hasn't fit well on any line. The guy was a 40-point player last year and looks like a shell of that with us. Drouin and Tatar were kind of battling for a top 6 spot, and Drouin has played very well the past 10 or so games. Plus, we just flipped a guy we signed for 1 year in free agency for a 5th, so it's not really that bad of a thing. Yup, I'm just contextualizing the situation, frees up some cap for us too, come trade deadline. Here's another perspective. I'm assuming they felt he wasn't a good fit for the team, because you're right that he was in the starting lineup even when everyone was healthy. I'm assuming the Avs would use his cap hit to find someone faster who checks harder, but with equally stony hands. Here is the Seattle Kraken comment. Friedman says that something is brewing in Seattle, so let's wait and see what happens. And yeah, probably Starbucks. That's always brewing over there in Seattle. But here is the JFresh card on Tomas Tatar and his performance so far too. 69 percentile projected wins above replacement number. So there you go. He's in the top 69% of NHL players. His even strength offense metrics actually really good. 88%. So he is in the top half, top quarter actually of NHL players in that regard. 80% defensive metrics too. His other things have not really been great. 26 percentile on the power play, 28% finishing, primary assist, penalties, and competition hasn't really been up there. But at even strength, Tomas Tatar has been a very good player, and this is not a surprise. Like, this has been a pattern that Tatar has exhibited ever since his days in Montreal, where he was pretty much on that shutdown line with Philippe Danault and Brendan Gallagher. You gotta remember that when the Canadiens went to the finals, sure, Tatar didn't play much, but that line didn't really produce much either. And it's because Danault, Gallagher, and Tatar were so good at shutting down opposition forwards that they were relied upon more so to do that. Meanwhile, the scoring was deferred to guys like Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, and you get the idea. The Canadiens had a really good defensive structure. So for Tomas Tatar to actually exhibit really good even strength numbers, both on offense and defense, it's not a surprise. Heading over to Seattle, hopefully that ice time increases a little bit from that of a 4th liner to maybe getting middle to top 6 minutes. But for the Seattle Kraken themselves, they've been struggling this season pretty hard, so getting any kind of blood onto this team is probably going to be helpful. If we reload the Elite Prospects page, can we see that? There you go, Seattle Kraken, just as I had predicted. If we go over and see the team leaders, Bjorkstrand has 24 points in 31 games. Vince Dunn has had a great season, 24 points. Eli Tolvanen, absolute monster this guy is. He scores, he makes plays, he hits, he blocks shots. He is all around great. Jaden Schwartz has been injured for a while, so he hasn't really been there. And even when he was in the lineup, Schwartz was on a really bad slump before getting injured. Matty Beniers seems to be in some sort of a sophomore slump. Ty Karche just got sent down. Now you guys have Tomas Tatar coming into your lineup to fill in an extra spot in the top 6, hopefully. And if this works well enough, where Tatar is able to get some pretty good production, then hopefully next offseason he's able to get a bigger deal that actually extends past 1 year or so. Hopefully it's a bit more than $1.5 million as well. But either way, for Tomas Tatar, if everything works out in the ways that you want it to, then this guy is maybe a 20, 30-point guy in the final few games of the season. He's not going to be a point-per-game player, but if he's a serviceable enough guy on the penalty kill and on a shutdown line, then there's no reason to go out there and say this trade is a bad one, especially for the price. I mean, a 5th-round pick is really not that big of a deal. We saw the Vancouver Canucks trade a 5th-round pick for Sam Lafferty earlier in the year, and that's turned out to be a really good trade because Sam Lafferty is now a first-line player for Vancouver. Not saying that Tatar and Lafferty are the same kind of guy, it's just an example of how these kinds of trades are really just capitalizing on what other teams have to offer. So for the Colorado Avalanche, y'all are probably going to be getting Artturi Lehkonen back, you're getting a 5th-round pick back, and you're sending away a guy that you didn't really have much use for in the lineup anyway, so this is a pretty good trade, all things considered. Plus, the cap space, you can't ignore the $1.5 million being freed up for the Avalanche. But if you're a Montreal Canadiens fan, and I'm talking to the Habs fans in particular because this was a really interesting experiment that we all kind of observed from the outside from the Colorado Avalanche. Not only did they get Tomas Tatar, but they also did get themselves that Jonathan Drouin that we were talking about earlier, and they have Artturi Lehkonen too. So this is a team that's really trying to capitalize on former Montreal Canadiens and using their forwards in their lineup. Now I know that's not their intent, they're just going after guys they think are cool. But it is kind of funny just to see Drouin, Tatar, and Lehkonen on the same team. Lehkonen, of course, has been out for a while. Drouin seems to have earned that top 6 spot over Tatar, and if the if the Avalanche are not really comfortable using Tatar in a 4th to bottom line role because they feel he's got a little bit more to show for, then hey, trade him away, send him to an opportunity where he's actually able to use his goal-scoring touch and hopefully get back up into the swing of things, and all should be forgiven. So, if you are a Colorado Avalanche fan, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Tomas Tatar leaving your team? If you're a Kraken fan, what are your thoughts on this guy getting added onto your squad? Your team has been pretty this season anyway, so I think having a guy like this who can be a top 6 forward is a pretty good addition, especially for only a 5th-round pick. But if you see any other problems with this, if you don't know where Tatar fits in the lineup, let me know your concerns and thoughts in the comment section below. Where does Tatar play if you had to project everything into the next few weeks here? And do you think he's going to do all right? This player card is pretty good, but how well do you think that's going to translate on paper? Avalanche fans, Kraken fans, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this Vishara Trolls 99, and bye.